welcome. I am Selene Diaris, and I'm the executive director and the producer of At the Epicenter, and it's just a delight to have all of you here this evening for Women Leading Green, Beauty is Earth Deep. So one of the first things I need to do is say thank you. First, I want to acknowledge and say thank you to Sterling Rice Group for hosting us in this incredibly awesome space here in Boulder, Colorado. And I also want to thank the team at Compass Natural for helping get everything set up today. Couldn't have done it without you folks. And I'd also like to thank JDP Media, who is doing the filming for us this evening. And I also want to thank our Women Leading Green presenting sponsor, which is QI Life Sciences. And also a thank you to Alfalfa's Market for sponsoring tonight and providing the exquisite organic ingredients that our chef, Daniel Asher from River and Woods, crafted into some extraordinary treats. Did everyone have a chance to taste and enjoy? Yes, thank you very much. And also a thank you to Natural Merchants, who provided our beautiful organic biodynamic wines for the evening, and to Venus and Vitiver and Robert's Love Balloons, who actually crafted that beautiful chalk design for us this evening. So I also have to thank my sponsors for the underwriters of At the Epicenter, Organic India, Regeneration International, New Hope Network, New Resource Bank, Dr. Bronner's, Compass Natural Marketing, Kehi Cadia, and Padron Marketing. So let's just give a warm thank you. And I would like to introduce Sheila Rosen, who is a managing director and partner at Sterling Rice Group. She has 20 plus years in marketing and advertising with expertise in a variety of areas, but most delightfully for tonight's event, her expertise in health and beauty and the natural and organic space are part of what she will share with us in just a moment. So let's welcome Sheila Rosen.
Beauty is earth deep, at the epicenter, and women leading the way. Those things, those words really resonated with me personally, and I'm going to tell you why. About 25 years ago, in the early 90s, I started my career in marketing, and I was working for companies like P&G and Unilever. I was working on brands like Vidal Sassoon, hair care, and I was working on Degree antiperspirant. Anyone familiar with either of those two? And this was at a time where people really weren't interested in knowing what was going in their products. It just didn't really matter to them. You know what it was all about? It was all about efficacy. And consumers believed that efficacy could only come from chemical formulations. And the passion of brands that I worked on were all about profit, not purpose. But thank God, there has been a cultural awakening, finally, right? And there are two things about the awakening that matter today that I wanted to bring to your attention. And the ones actually that matter to me. People are embracing the ancient wisdoms of the past, right? Finally, like, we're figuring this out. My mom told me early on, like, use coconut oil, slather it all over your body. Why aren't you using that? Because the power of botanicals can really deliver those efficacious benefits that consumers were searching for. So ancient wisdom of the past. Second is there's been this consumer consciousness that has happened in the world. Boy, has it happened in the world lately. Where consumers are really connecting with brands that have a higher purpose. Not just a promise, but a higher purpose, a shared, deeper value. So those are the two things that really matter today and that are driving this awakening. So the speakers you're going to hear today, sort of the pioneers in this industry, figured this all out way a long time ago. This isn't new to them, but for a lot of mainstream consumers, this awakening is new to them. So I'm personally proud to be standing here with all of you at the Epicenter, and I welcome you into our SRG home for a really lively discussion. Thank you.
Thank you, Sheila. That was very perfect and on point. So why did we call this Beauty is Earth Deep? We chose that phrasing because right now, the impact, as she's already alluded to, in what we're putting on our skin is making a difference not only for our individual health, but for planetary health. So the impact that we're seeing in our oceans and our coral reefs are because of toxic chemicals in sunscreens, little tiny beads of plastic in exfoliation products that are literally choking sea life. And it's also because of hormone-disrupting chemicals that are playing havoc with our endocrine system. These are changing the very possibly gender identity of our species as we are changing the chemical naturalness within utero by products that a mother is using. So Beauty is Earth Deep is profound because right now we are at a very important time in our shared history. And we all are very aware of many of the things that face us that are a little frightening and unnerving, and we're not going to spend a lot of time focusing on those this evening, because the good news is that tonight we have people who are part of that solution matrix. They are people who are providing us with products that, as we make those daily choices of what we choose to spray under our arm or smear on our face or put on our child before they go jump in the water, there are significant opportunities to choose in such a way that you are part of the solution. And you are part of what is making tomorrow a healthier tomorrow by how we choose today. So thank you for already nodding your heads in agreement and being part of that beautiful sea of change and being ambassadors in the way that you're already living and inspiring others to choose as well. So the next person I'd like to welcome is Cherie Arnold, who is the founder of QI Life Sciences, our presenting sponsor for this evening. And we're going to have a short conversation before we step into our panel discussions.
Good to be here.
Thank you for being here. Thank you for supporting this evening's event.
Oh, it's near and dear to my heart as a topic, as you well know.
Yes.
For many, many years.
So I don't know if anyone here knows what QI Life Sciences is all about. And so I would love for you to sort of set the stage. First, I will share with our wonderful audience that QI Life Sciences is in the emergent world of hemp as a means for healing and health. Could you share, why did you choose hemp as the launching pad for your business?
Oh, great question. And it came about through a personal healing crisis that I had probably 15 years ago when I had a 14-pound tumor, and I was told by three women doctors that I had to have a complete hysterectomy and mastectomy. And I decided, no, I'm not going to do that, not to myself. And So I went after a naturopathic solution for that. And in the course of doing that, I came from the cosmetic world. My early career in the 80s was with Estee Lauder and building lots of, great petrochemical brands, quite honestly. And when I left that and moved to California, I was in the Bay Area at the time. And then when I had this crisis, I just said, I'm going to learn everything that I can about what's going on here. And so I formed sort of my own little advisory board of naturopathic physicians and doctors and went on a 4-year program and dissolved the thing and got my health back all the way. And in the process of that, became very integrated and interested in creating these solutions using what I call quintessentially intelligent plant ingredients and compounds and how they work and the science behind them. So I've been deeply into that science of the medicine and products. And so when I moved to Colorado, which is about 4 years ago, I realized that, wow, finally the cannabis plant is coming online. And I've known for some time, because part of the homeopathic dosing that I was doing contained certain cannabinoids. And phytocannabinoids in particular, which is when you have the whole plant spectrum, they are very, very effective. They all work together like your own little inner group of healers and physicians. And so I thought, I'm wondering if I can do it on the the naturally occurring side, which is the hemp side, and not, and be healthy and use that healthy for the highest purpose, no pun intended, then there's something here. And so I started out with doing a product that would create a sort of prototype of how this works, which then created the basis for the science. So QI Life Sciences is actually the research and education and development arm, of which we have a product called Medici, MEDI-QI. And I'm using the QI throughout because it really is about quality ingredients, quality inside, quintessential intelligence of plants, and if you look at it from just pure, like how do physics work with compounds and science, from the pure quantum intelligence side. So, that's exactly what it's about, is the intelligence, having these compounds work in a system we have called the endocannabinoid system. And that is just basically our physiology. It's the issues in our tissues that we don't really have a lot of science and a lot of research about, which is the bridge and the integration between the natural healing and the way that, the medical model is working right now. So I thought, perfect, that's what I'll do, is I'll put this together in a naturopathic solution, and I'll start at the core, which is basically how do we get out of this crisis, some of us that we're at, the healing crisis, or these deficiencies that we're experiencing, and how do we create this for what I call a prime effect? Everything, you can either do medicine, which has side effects, or you can do plant science ingredients, which are prime effects. So that's where the prime effect came from. And the effect, of course, there's so many beautiful effects from this plant, depending on which cannabinoid that you're using. And the most well-known one, as you know, is the THC. But that level of psychoactivity really creates an imbalance without the counterbalance to it, which is the phytocannabinoid or the cannabidiol CBD whole plant spectrum part. And then the next little challenge that came up in all of this was, how do I keep it out of pharma, and how do we put it into natural products so we don't have to write a prescription for our good basic health care? And that's when I founded QI Life Sciences and put a team together, and I've been working all around the world, Europe to start with, because that's where it was first, legally imported over here, and then now in the United States I'm rolling out California, and basically as the states come online, we're the healthy, effect, the healthy counterpart to some of the medical dispensaries that are coming online.
So you talk about a 1-2 punch. Can you say something about that with the body-brain?
Yes. The first issue to deal with is we have receptor sites, thousands of them. They're the little areas in our body and our physiology that are signaling our whole body of how to work together to be healthy. So the brain and and basically the body part are the first links. So I created a brain-body nutrition, a phytonutrient complex that you take together, and it creates a brain-body connection that then allows, with cumulative results and health benefits, to create a homeostasis condition in the body. Because getting core stability back in the body, and then good structural balance, essentially, that then leads over time to homeostasis. So it really is a sort of natural product that it's a food nutrition source, and it requires a period of time of taking it in order to get to that homeostasis.
Wonderful. Well, thank you again for being a part of this evening. And if I wanted to find this product, where would I go?
Oh, okay. We're right now online. We have not, technically launched yet. We're just putting this together, but it's Mediqui, MEDIQI, energetics.com.
All right, wonderful.
Yeah.
Well, thank you again, and we will look forward to hearing more from you as the years
Elaine.
go by.
So great to be here. Thanks to all of you.
Wonderful.
Hi.
Thank you. I love doing this, and I'm always so excited to have another group of incredible, beautiful, intelligent people to have a conversation with. So I feel like I have a very fortunate position that I get to talk to all of you. And so how we're going to begin is I have asked each of you to be prepared to introduce yourself this evening. I figure who knows better who you are than yourself, right? So,
It's on?
the pressure's on, girlfriend.
All right. Hi.
All right, so immediately to my right is Kiran Stordalen with Intelligent Nutrients, and I will leave it to you, my dear, to share a little bit who you are.
Yeah, hi, I'm Kiran. It's a pleasure to be here with you this evening. So yes, I am a co-owner of Intelligent Nutrients. I have a business partner, and we are a hair care, skin care, body care, aroma company, all personal care. And the basic premise of our line is that everything you put in and on your body must be nutritious and safe. And so we started the company in the mid-1990s as part of another company that we once had, which was called Aveda. And really, the beginning of Intelligent Nutrients was this conversation of, we need to think more about beauty in terms of not just topical, but let's talk about beauty from the inside out. And so that was really sort of this whole supplement conversation that's now happening in the marketplace today. And so we continued on that trajectory for quite some time, and then in 2008 we launched the first USDA organic certified hair care line. And from there, we have kind of continued to expand our offering. And a few years ago, Horst passed away, and his daughter, Nicole, who's my business partner, and I was Horst's partner at the time, we basically sort of decided to take over the business and revamp it and really rethink how we thought about products and really continue on this mission. So that's me.
Awesome. Thank you, Kiran. Next to Kiran is Nova Covington-Halter. She is the founder and CEO of Goddess Garden, which is a Colorado company and a B Corp. Nova, would you say a little bit about who you are?
Sure. Thanks,
Thank you.
Elaine. I'm the founder of Goddess Garden with my husband, Paul, who's over here in the corner. And he is the biochemist behind our awesome organic sunscreen. So we make sunscreen certified organic. We were one of the first brands to try to certify organic make sunscreen. And it had been excluded from certified organic products because most of them had chemicals. So we went in and started making zinc and titanium sunscreen, and that was 2007 or so. We started selling at the Boulder Farmers Market. So we're one of those farmers market brands who's grown up here. And we have the biggest cottonwood tree. We like to say that's where Goddess Garden started, in that park with the big cottonwood tree. And 2009, we launched in the natural channel because we figured out that our customers actually bought at the natural grocery store, and that's where they'd like to find us. So we had 100 stores that year, and we just kept growing. And we're now selling across the U.S. and Canada with our sunscreen. and are going up against the big chemical sunscreen brands in the big retailers. So that's brought on a lot of change and exciting growth for Goddess Garden, but yet a lot of challenges along the way. We also launched an organic skincare line about a year ago. So it's in Lucky's, 10 Whole Foods in Colorado, Natural Grocers by Vitamin Cottage, Pharmaca, and you can find it. It's very simple. It's all targeted at sun repair. So we took all the certified organic ingredients we could find that were basically proven to repair sun damage, which is wrinkles. Wrinkles are sun damage. If we had all stayed out of the sun, we would all be pristine, beautiful people. But in Colorado, we're enjoying the sun, so we want to be able to enjoy the sun. So we launched a skincare line about a year ago. We're in about 1,000 stores with that line, and growing into other categories, but really still sunscreen is our baby. So
Beautiful. Thank you, Nova. Silencia Cox. She is the CEO of Motherlove Herbal Company, and it's a family business, and I will let Silencia share the deeper story behind that. Thank you, Silencia.
Thank you. My name's Silencia. I am the CEO at Motherlove Herbal Company, and I was literally born into this job. My mother founded the line when she was pregnant with me. My mother is an herbalist, and she knew a lot of the healing properties that plants possess and made some very simple formulations for herself. And I grew up gathering herbs, helping them sell at farmers markets. And then over time, we slowly expanded across the U.S. as well. It's one of those farmer market brands as well. Now we're sold in over 10,000 retailers across the U.S. and 15 different countries. Our brand primarily focuses on herbal products specifically for pregnancy and breastfeeding. So it's a very niche line, but we're looking at everything from stretch mark creams to diaper rash creams, as well as some herbal supplements to help support lactation.
Wonderful, thank you. And then on the end here is our token male, and a fine male at that. Joshua Anesco is the founder, CEO of Pangea Organics, and he is also part of the At the Epicenter Advisory Board. And I asked if he would be a co-moderator with me this evening, sort of holding down more of that industry knowledge that he is so richly embedded inside of. And so thank you, Joshua, for being here this evening. You're welcome to say a few words of greeting.
I have a cold.
I know. All right, so we'll keep it there, huh?
I'm not going to say anything the entire night.
Excellent. Well, you know, we'll just have the pretty boy on the end. And all right, so where I wanted to start is a little bit about you as individuals. You know, who are you and what? So I know you just gave a little bit of a story about what you're doing, but I'm interested in why are you inside of this industry beyond being born into it? What kept you there? You could have left and chosen something else, obviously. So why in this space, the beauty care space, the cosmetic world? What about that really drew your passion and your interest? And anyone can start.
Well, I think, first of all, when you know better, you want to do better, and I think that's sort of a beginning platform. I have spent a lot of time in this industry. I have a long history, and so I think that that has been a part of my impetus to kind of keep going. There's increasing opportunities to do better, whether it's exploring more organic essential oils, or if it's looking for plant bioactives or algae, different kinds of raw materials that are really inspiring. And I think it's pretty exciting to actually see these incredible ingredients sort of brought to life inside product development and products. And I think that that's a very exciting creative endeavor, and it serves a purpose as well. So you're taking your creativity and you're putting it on a consumer platform, and I think that that's really exciting.
So that's exciting for you and keeps you engaged.
Yeah, I think so.
Awesome, awesome. What about the other two of you? Not the third of you.
he has a cold. So my mom was an organic gardener, so I think I came by it pretty early as well. She had an organic farm. She didn't call it an organic farm. It was probably 2 acres, and she was just gardening. But looking back, she would have had like 5 employees now and be calling that an organic farm. So I was making oatmeal masks and weird stuff at like 8. I think I asked my dad if I could have some money to start my own company when I was about that age. He said no, so I had to go to college, get a real career, and then I came back to it with my kids and my own personal experience. I had cancer in my early 20s, and my doctor, that was kind of like wake-up call, the C word, right? It was like, ooh, I need to start eating healthier. And I knew already about organic vegetables and eating healthy, so I'd already heard that speech from my mom a few times. So it kind of changed my trajectory in my early 20s. And then when I had kids, my doctor said, you should start eating certified organic only. And that was a wake-up call because I started thinking about what I was putting on my body. So I think I was probably meant to be here for the whole 9 yards.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, for me, growing up, loved being around the business, but was convinced I was not going to work in the family business, primarily because it was a family business. And I don't know how many of you work with your parents, but it can be challenging and lovely. So I was sure that I wasn't going to stay a part of the business. And then after college, and started realizing what amazing business it really was. It wasn't just a family business. What we were doing was helping women breastfeed. We're helping women through that most important time in their life when they're becoming moms. And we'd meet women that were so affected by what we were doing that I started to think that maybe there was something more than this just being a family business, that we were really having an impact in so many people's lives. And the way the business is set up is we have such a strong mission and such strong values that you'd be hard-pressed to find another company to work for that would be better. So when I started working for it, I really found a passion in driving that sustainability and kind of building a company culture, and that's what drives me now, is driving the company culture and getting more people in our organization bought into what we're doing, and more people in our community aware of organics and the importance of organics, and that's what motivates me to stay a part of Motherlove.
Nice. What of late, in the last 9 months or so, has provided a growth opportunity through challenge or opportunity for any of you that you'd like to share?
I could start. We went into 4,000 CVS stores in 2015, which provided a growth opportunity for us because we ended up on the bottom rack of a natural display that didn't even get put out. So unfortunately, all that product, well, not all of it, but 60% came back to us the next year. So that created really a financial challenge for Goddess Garden. And for the first time, we've been totally independent. We had to go do a round of fundraising. So I was meeting money guys and sitting down with private equity folks. And it was really good for me to examine where we want to be in the future. It really forced me because I was going to have to put together my first board, and I was choosing a significant path in our trajectory. So I quickly screened out most of the money guys and went with social mission based. There's this really great slow money movement, and we ended up with some fantastic partners that own a very small percentage and are also B Corp, very focused on our social mission, which is getting the chemicals out of our body care products. So we were really lucky to find these partners out of Vancouver, BC, called Renewal Funds, and they've been awesome. So that was a challenge I'd never had to face.
Well, I guess for us, we've had the business for a little while, but it went through several iterations. And so I think that has been one of our bigger growth challenges, is really figuring out where the business is, where the future is. I say this often. I think that it's one thing to talk about sustainability, but you have to have a sustainable business to talk about sustainability, and so you have to have both sides of the coin. And I think that for us, really, really focusing on what works and what doesn't, how do we want our channel mix to look, These kind of things are these are questions that you have to answer and to figure out, and it is about running a business day to day and showing up every day, and so those are big things that you've got to do.
For me, my mother recently retired, so she's always been my mentor and kind of my go-to and my boss. So once that was no longer there, and I realized that I had some pretty big shoes to fill, and quickly learned that I had to not do that alone. So my challenge and most rewarding experience over the last year has been building a team. I'm blessed with an amazing executive team that they're just a joy to work with. And finding that I need to delegate, that I can't do it all myself. I look at every little project and want to jump into it with both feet and realizing that I can't do everything myself. So that's been a lesson and a challenge and a rewarding one.
I think a lot of us can relate to the challenge of you can't do it all yourself, and you have to be able to delegate and trust someone else to follow through for you. And that can be a big deal, especially when you're, as you said, sort of stepping into a new role. And I just want to acknowledge that your mother is actually here, Catherine. There she is. Thank you for coming this evening. It's a real honor to have you here.
She literally just got off a plane from Mexico.
She told me, I know. I said I was glad it was in the same time zone. It makes a difference. So I also want to go into life balance. You're all busy people. You're running very busy businesses. And, you know, Kiran, you have a lot of other things going on in your life in addition to the company. You are a trustee on the
foundation.
foundation,
Yes.
and there's a lot going on with that. So how do you maintain keeping it real, being whole, having a balance in your life? And what is your go-to for balance? Is it meditation? Is it, we did a Women Leading Green a few years ago, and someone said it was whiskey. So, you know, whatever gets you through the day, right? Yeah. But,
I think it is that, whatever floats your boat, honestly. I think, you know, all of the above. Let's just check every box, whether it's wine or exercise. I mean, exercise, I think, is a big one. But I think it's also just trying to take time away. You know, and I think that it's always that question. It's women that are always asking that question, like, what is that work-life balance? I don't know if guys ever ask themselves that question. Do you ever think about work-life balance?
I mean, yeah, but the more you become balanced, the less you have to think about it.
Yeah, I would agree. I think it's about holding your own, really. And I think also it's about learning to say no, and it's about creating boundaries, and I think oftentimes women are not really very good at that. I think we say yes to a lot of things that we shouldn't be saying yes to.
I totally agree with that statement. For me, balance is really having a whole lot of people who help me with a lot of little details so that I can be a good parent. I have 2 kids, a 6-year-old and almost 14-year-old, and you know, they're wonky sometimes. Sometimes they just need their mom, and you can't really pay someone to be a mom. I've tried. Didn't work. Didn't work at all. But it's the same for, you know, every part of my life. I think for me, yoga is a huge part of what keeps me balanced and sane. I became a certified yoga teacher like a year and a half ago. I've only taught 2 classes. Yeah, full confession, I'm not actually teaching yoga, but I did implement Friday Yay Yoga at Goddess Garden. Friday, we call it yoga day. So we do yoga at Goddess Garden on Fridays. However, that's as far as it's gone. So,
but I like that. That's good. Yeah. That's good. Yes, Silencia.
We also have a yoga day. It's yoga Wednesday, so it's Wellness Wednesdays. But exercise is big for me. A lot of time, I find myself so much in my head thinking, working through, you know, problems and solutions that exercise really gets me into my body and away from my mind, and that's helpful. Nature's big for me. Being out in the woods, especially alone, is really important. It's what helps ground me. And then traveling internationally is a big thing for me too. Nothing will put your life in perspective like going and seeing how the rest of the world lives. So when you're really stressing about some deadline or some things, that makes it seem maybe a little bit more trivial when you get to experience other cultures. So all those things are important to me.
Perspective is powerful. There's no doubt about it. So you guys are in an industry, and I'm going to ask you, Joshua, to help me with some numbers. I think that the overall like beauty care industry. Do you know like the size of it?
It's like
Yay big.
I think I think natural and organic is supposed to hit 18 billion in 2018.
It represents $33 billion.
Natural and organic, or
Natural,
Oh,
and
wow.
then I think 10 is organic.
I guess we read
And it is
different blogs.
it is the fastest growing segment
Yeah,
of the beauty
absolutely.
category for
And
sure.
the overall beauty industry is billions. Does anyone know the number?
I think it's 180.
It's like
That's
180.
just mascara.
Beauty is big.
Beauty is big.
Beauty is big.
Right,
Let's just
which
say that.
I just think it's an important thing to think about. I mean, we think of food is a big deal, but beauty, holy moly. I mean, there are so many options out there, so many of which are crap. So you guys are inside of a fast-growing space. How are you stepping into that? Like how are you positioning what you're doing to really push out as an option, as a desirable option in the beauty care space?
I mean, for us, I think e-commerce is really where we think the digital revolution. I think that's really where we're landing as sort of our growth opportunity as a business. And so, yeah, I think that as everyone, you have a multi-channel distribution process, and you have to look at all channels of distribution now. That's how people shop. I mean, it's online and it's offline, and how do you really figure that out? But for us, I think that's really where we're ending up.
So you're making a strong online play for intelligent nutrients?
I think that's where we'd like to move forward. Yep.
Now, are you in retail? I mean, are you? And if
We're
you are in
some-
retail, where?
We're in some specialty retailers, and but our heritage is salons, so that's where we began our conversation with our customers in the salon arena,
Okay.
and that's a very specific kind of retailing opportunity, and it's a little more wonky as well.
The key word this evening is wonky. So what about the two of you? I thought you were about to say something, Silencia.
For us, I mean, we've been around for over 30 years, so we were a pretty well-established brand by the time natural and organic really started launching into the mainstream, which was a great position to be in, but now there's just so many options. So making sure that we're staying relevant and staying in front of moms. There's a challenge for us because you're pregnant for 9 months and then you breastfeed for a while, and maybe you do that a handful of times throughout your life, but we really make something just for that niche, so we're always having to appeal to a new mother.
A new mother, right.
And so we do take that multi-channel approach as well. I mean, where we used to only be in in natural grocery stores and kind of more natural and organic places, we've now spread into mainstream, and online is important to us as well because we really need to meet moms where they are. Rather than always asking our consumers to come to us and meet us where we are, we really need to make an effort to meet people where they are, because for organic is new to some people, and some people don't realize that there are those alternatives out there.
So for you guys, where are you going to interface in the mainstream? Where are some of the spaces where you are located now?
As far as retail, we're distributed across Whole Foods, Sprouts, Vitamin Cottage. We're also distributed through Walgreens and Target, and then Amazon's a big player for us as well. But that's primarily where we are. We mostly find that working with healthcare professionals like midwives and lactation consultants has been a good inroad for us, because professionals can help recommend which products are best to use at which times, particularly during this time of life. But we find that online, a lot of moms are shifting that way. I mean, Amazon can drop ship you a package by drone in 12 hours, so you don't really have to go out. And so it's been a dynamic and changing marketplace where retail used to be, brick and mortar retail was all that we ever were, and now online has become a significant portion of our business.
That's interesting. I think the whole brick and mortar is an interesting conundrum, given that that has been the norm for such a long time. And you guys,
We have 2 stores.
you have 2 stores. So you, in a way, you guys you kind of came into being around the time that this transition was already underway. in retail, that the brick and mortar was playing less of a role and the growth of online really started to take on.
Yeah, I mean, I think that having brick and mortar is a luxury, and it was a pivotal point in the trajectory of the Aveda career. But I think that what brick and mortar does for us is it provides an opportunity to tell our narrative. And you walk into our space and and we're talking our language. And so that is a really special experience, and it's a very consumer-driven experience, and it's great to be able to talk about products in that forum, I guess. So that's a great thing.
Well, we are all in brick and mortar. I think we just counted 20,000 retailers that we hit this year. So we had a huge growth year, and we've kind of been, we've supported the retailers 100%. So we've been driving traffic from our website. And then we realized, we're not really trying to sell sunscreen, and people are in the store on their device wondering if they should buy Goddess Garden. So we were kind of like doing the opposite of trying to sell online. We were pushing everyone to the stores because we felt like we really wanted to support those retailers. And Amazon is a significant player. So they're struggling to figure out what the mix is. And we sit on a shelf with 16 feet of chemicals. So we got in by saying, hey, we're the alternative. We're natural sunscreen. And at first I spent, 2 or 3 years telling people what is natural sunscreen, because it has minerals, it doesn't have chemicals. And now, it's a really challenging space because there's some faux natural in there. So it looks like it's minerals, but then buried in the inactive ingredient list, there's actually chemical sunscreens. So it's really tricky out there right now. You have to be super educated. But I hope for brick and mortar's sake that they can figure out a way to still be relevant. People are still in there shopping. But I think online is definitely up and coming. They all know it.
Right. So the body care industry, there's always been something kind of like the Wild West of body care has been a phrase that's thrown around in the natural products world, because as far as regulation is concerned, it's a little hodgepodge. Yes? So you're each doing your certified organic product lines. You have a certified organic. And you have a certified organic product line. And you even have some certified organic.
I actually ditched the certification.
You did, but
We're
you're a lip balm.
certified by nobody anymore.
You are certified by no one anymore.
Certified by me.
Excellent. So the certifications in organic is obviously a very high bar to hit in body care. So there is the Campaign for Safe Cosmetics, which did a lot to uncover the dark side in the cosmetic world. How are you finding navigation when you are competing against, like Nova, you're talking about sunscreens that are on the shelf that are harmful, but how do you, as a more beneficent brand, communicate that, and how do you win the consumer over in a space that doesn't allow a lot of claims and doesn't have a lot of regulation?
Well, what's cool about certified organic is there are rules and there is a standard. So it keeps us really straight and narrow. I mean, it's like, ooh, it'd be so great to put in that synthetic that gets rid of puffy eyes. Oh, wait, we can't because we're certified organic. So it really keeps us honest, I think, at the end of the day. Joshua's got his own certification board. But I think for us, we've had to really stay hard and fast certified organic. And everything, it's so important because like a certified organic essential oil goes to the cellular level in your body. So that one cell could have absorbed all the pesticides and herbicides if you weren't using a certified organic essential oil. So it's basically even more important with high quality ingredients that you're using ones that are certified organic, in my personal opinion. And now, this is crazy, 60% of people in the US actually are realizing that things do soak in through their skin. That is a huge revelation. 5 years ago, no one thought it was important. It was like, wait, why certified organic? So we've found it to be really helpful. It's helped us with our retailers because they're like, oh, you're actually natural. You're certified organic. So it's made it a clear path for them to their consumers that we are the true natural. And so I think that is a real opportunity for the 4 brands sitting here.
I always tell people if you take all the pores on your body and you push them together, it's the size of your mouth. which is a
Ew.
great way to understand that your body's absorbing all those things because their face always makes the same expression.
That's a good one.
Well, that's a good
you know,
graphic. I mean,
skin,
you know.
skin is the largest organ of your body, and so yeah, you're thinking about it in those terms, I think too.
But it's an interesting thing because we take it so for granted, right? I mean, you walk around, there's this thing that covers the entirety of us, but we are so much more accustomed to thinking about what we put into our mouth as the thing to be cautious about. So it is exciting that there is this growth in awareness that's happening where 60% are now recognizing that, oh, this is a permeable surface, and so what I'm doing to it is potentially as impactful as what I'm eating. And then there's the whole breathing thing, but we won't go there today. But I'm sure I'll do a panel on breathing sometime, I think. Okay, so we've talked a little bit about this crazy industry in body care, and we've talked a little bit about how each of you are differentiated because of your certification. I'm interested in also, you all have very interesting projects that you're doing that impact the community where you are. And so, like, for example, you're doing
Yes.
some bee stuff.
Yep,
And
yep.
so share a little bit about what you're doing.
So we have a farm, or I had at one time I had lived on a farm, which we've created into a foundation. It's 300 acres, and we decided to focus on pollinators. And so we're working with the U of M Bee Squad and their lab, and we're really trying to do some research around colony collapse disorder. So we all know that bees are a little bit of the canary in the coal mine. And so we've started some projects out on this farm with pollinators.
So can you tell us, like, where is this farm?
It's about an hour outside Minneapolis in Osceola, Wisconsin. And so we're trying to make it a place, and it's fairly new. We're just trying to make it a place for researchers and scientists and educators, so people can come and make it a day of it and really have an experience with the natural world too, and learn a little bit while they're there.
Is it still an active farm?
It's an active farm for the U of M now, basically. So they, because it's all organic and that's a little bit rare, so they are doing all of the plantings that are great pollinator plants for the bees.
Okay, so now it's oriented towards studying the pollinators and putting in.
Yep.
And is it just bees or is it
It's
other
butterflies and bees primarily.
Bees
so
primarily.
that's sort of our launching pad, and then from there we're going to try and do some things with the plant squad out of the U of M as well. So we're working on, again, this premise that everything is organic, and how can we really put that out there.
Cool.
So, yeah.
And does that have any connection to intelligent nutrients?
Well, our philanthropic effort, when we're able, we dedicate our extra funds to this particular effort. So that's where our sort of mission, vision-driven element is in the pollinator project for the moment.
Wonderful. Well, the pollinators, thank you.
Yeah.
Colorado, or Boulder County, had a huge loss in bee colonies this year. So, shocking. So we're really in a crisis point with bees, and here locally, 60% of the beekeepers lost their bees. No, it's the beekeepers lost 60% across Boulder County, and it was even a higher number in Boulder County than in other counties surrounding us. So the question is, what are we doing collectively? What are we doing in our own yards? What's being used? What is creating this impact on bees that they're not overwintering? And we didn't even have that audacious a winter this year. So I was surprised by that fact, because I thought, well, winter was over in February.
But they wake up and there's no food for them. That's the problem.
That's very true.
But another, riffing on the organic essential oils, and I think everybody here believes in essential oils, a lot of the questions I get about, a lot of people have this misconception that all essential oils are organic, and it's not true. And one of the things that I point out to people is citruses, because citrus essential oils are heavily used. And if you Google pesticides and herbicides that are legal to use on citruses in the US, neonicotinoids, the entire rack of them are used heavily on citruses. So something as simple as the lemons you're buying at the store, the lemon essential oil, super important that you're buying organic, specifically for yourself and the pollinators.
Good point. So Nova, I know you guys have some passion around, we made the connection earlier about oceans and toxins in sunscreen. Could you share a little bit about sort of this larger body of effort that you're involved in and sort of, and how Goddess Garden is positioning itself to be a helper in that regard?
Yeah, we've been talking about Reef Safe for a few years before it was kind of the hip thing to put on people's bottle. But there's certain chemicals that are approved, oxybenzone, octinoxate. These are even, I think there's 8 of the 11 approved in the US for use as sunscreen are harmful to coral reef. So they're basically hormone disruptors. They disrupt our hormones. They disrupt the hormones of the zooxanthellae, which are the tiny little creatures that live on the coral and that create the coral reef, basically. And so people think, oh, it doesn't matter here in Colorado. Well, we shower off our sunscreen. It's a tiny molecule that goes through our water treatment plants all the way to the Gulf of Mexico from right here where we're sitting. So 99% of Florida's coral already gone. The Great Barrier Reef was like, I think they lost 40% of the coral, and it's in a section of 400 miles around the Australian continent. So we know it's not global warming related. It's actually human impact related, because when you go off coast 400 miles, it's pristine still. So the whole ecosystem of the ocean survives on the fish that come out of the coral reef. It's just one big ecosystem. So we've been working really hard on that this year, and there was actually a bill in Hawaii that we testified on as a company, and went up against the big chemical sunscreen companies saying, oh, there's no alternatives. And we're like, yeah, we're an alternative. We're an alternative. And that bill, unfortunately, did not pass this week, but it was really, really close. One senator stopped it who got paid. So unfortunately, it basically just was a huge awareness builder, though, for Hawaiians. Hawaiians all stepped up and said, hey, this is our future. This is our tourism. People only come here because they want to see our coral reefs. So for me, that's what I'm really passionate about, and we're actually starting a foundation called Protect Our Mother, and we'll be focusing on protecting and supporting the scientists who are repairing the coral reefs.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Silencia, I know that you're doing some very interesting things around farming. You guys have a farm now in the Motherlove Nexus, and I think, are you also growing anything that you're using in the product on this farm?
Yes, we do grow some of the herbs that we use in our products on the farm. We were finding, as we were growing over time, the big obstacle that we had to maintaining our organic certification, and organic's really important to us, not just because of what you put in your body and what you put on your body, but it also has an impact on the water, the soil, the farmers. Organic goes beyond just its impact on yourself. It's really a planetary responsibility, thinking about using organics. So we're really committed to organic, even though the certification can be somewhat cumbersome. Staying away from pesticides and herbicides is our dedication. And in order to do that, we really found that we were having a very hard time sourcing certified organic herbs. And so we decided to start growing some of our own. So we have a 120-acre certified organic farm outside of Loveland, where we grow 3 of our main herbs that we use in our products, the 3 most challenging to find and that were the most drought resistant. So that is somewhere that we can be our own supply chain, but it also allows us to host community events and have herb classes at the farm where people can come out and learn more about the power of plants and the importance of organics. So it really can be something that's in the community, not just part of our own supply chain.
Right. And so I'm curious, what are those 3 plants that you're growing?
We grow goat's rue, which both goat's rue and blessed thistle we use in our galactagogue formulas, which help to support lactation. And then we have a large calendula patch that we use in almost every one of our skincare products.
Cool. But that's very pretty.
It's beautiful.
I want to come see that when it's in full bloom. So culture in your businesses, how are you? You're all up to some interesting things. How do you create, buy-in for employees and they become part of the passion of what you're doing? How is that done? That seems like could be a challenging thing to accomplish?
Well, we started in our home. So I had 9 employees in my tiny, small house. So we actually started as a family business. And I've really tried to hold on to that culture, but there were certain aspects to it. Open communication is one that's really important to me. We've created these tribal meetings where we have 25 employees now, and we all sit down on the floor in a big circle, and there's actually a talking stick, and we do activities together. So it's very hooty-hoo, but yet it actually builds community, I think, but also just that we are all doing what we're there because we love it and because we care about it. I don't think any of my employees would be there if it weren't for really caring deeply, and that's what means the most to me. And it's reciprocal, you know. So that's kind of one thing I've done. My husband jokingly says I have a democratic style because I ask everyone's opinion, which annoys the crap out of him. And he's like, oh, this is going to take forever to make this decision. But you learn so much by asking everyone's opinion, and sometimes one person on the team just has a completely different opinion that changes our whole trajectory because we hadn't thought of it. So I think it's a really important point, and it's more of a collaborative style. It's definitely a more female-based style. So that's one of the ways I do it.
Well, we're about 35 people, but since we have 2 retail stores, that sort of adds to the employee count. So I think just from a sort of more corporate setting, we're about 15 people, and we're all women except for 1 man. And I really feel for him. It's rough some days, but it's a pretty relaxed environment. We come from a team environment, so again, echoing the same thing that where you are, we're very inclusive. We tend to have larger meetings, and we really value everyone's opinion. It's a fairly relaxed environment, but everyone needs to pull their own weight. So when you're part of a smaller company, you're asking a lot of your staff, and they're stretched. And so it requires a certain kind of a person, not only to be passionate about what we're doing, but also to not be the kind of person that needs to be in a box. And some people really need those kinds of restrictions. And in our company, we need people to feel like they're, that they can stretch a little bit and grow a little bit with the business, because we're a growing business. And so I think that's a little bit of the demeanor. And I'm also about setting expectations. I feel like people do better when they have expectations surrounding them. So I think that's really, really important too.
That does help.
Yeah,
definitely.
it does. Yeah.
We have about 25 people on our team, but that's spread out through the farm. We also manufacture all of our own products, so we have all of production, and then logistics and marketing, sales. Collectively, we're 25. And we don't all work together day to day, so we have these really strong teams within the business. But every month we get together for an all-staff meeting where we collectively share with everybody all of our sales figures. Transparency is really big for us. And we spend the time talking about potential obstacles that we come across, or celebrate together in our victories. So we're really doing that as a team. We also are a B Corp, so our certification requires that we do a certain amount of things within the company, primarily around social and environmental responsibility. So we've created teams with amongst the employees, one for sustainability, one for community and giving, and then one for health and wellness. So that information and energy is really coming from the employees rather than coming from me saying, do this and be healthy. It's coming from them, what they need from us, and really creating the culture within. So we find that helps build the culture. But yeah, I mean, culture is the big thing for me that's really important. So I kind of dork out on that topic for a long time.
I like that. We've got some good words coming out of this. Well, what are you most excited about in the sort of looking into the future and how you're positioning your companies? What's really exciting to you? Like, what do you see as the edge ahead that you're aiming toward?
It's hard to say what the edge is. I mean, 10 years ago, I wouldn't have imagined that this company was the size that it is. I've had to kind of expand my thoughts around what's possible. So anything's possible. Truly, as the consumer demands more organic and natural and really starts reading labels and understanding what's in our products, that demand's only going to grow. And it's really the mainstream wave. I mean, we have mainstream retailers coming to us asking for our products, not the other way around. So we find that there really is endless opportunities to move into the mainstream market. So I don't know that there is an edge. The edge is my own imagination.
Well, that's a great answer, actually. Yes.
Well, I mean, I think that personal care is the revolution. I mean, the food change to organic happened, 20, 25 years ago, and I think now we're finally at this place where we're having a real conversation. People are really thinking about personal care and beauty in a different way, and they really are reading the backs of labels, and they are really thinking about what they're putting on their body. And so I think that change in and of itself is a huge shift that we're experiencing, and I think that being able to respond to that is really, really exciting. It's a big deal, and I think that now that people are really thinking about what they're putting on their bodies, it's a big deal.
It is a big deal. What about you? I mean, the earth is flat, so that's an edge.
True.
You know, with the oceans and all.
There's an edge there. I try not to worry about competitors at all because I feel like there's just total abundance for everyone who's doing the right thing. And so every little bit we can each contribute makes a huge difference. So I'm also excited about the consumer waking up out of this reverie that we've been in, maybe putting down our devices and being like, wow, we could actually use natural products instead of the chemicals. And hey, we're using a lot of chemicals. I remember when I cleaned out my cleaning closet of all the chemicals a few years ago, and it was, they just snuck in. It was like my mom brought the bleach and it's like, hey, I didn't buy that. How'd that get in there? But I just think that people are really waking up, and we're part of a revolution. I think it is a revolution, and it's not just in body care, but I feel like that's what's exciting to me is that we have to each acknowledge that we all have a share and a stake, and we can each make change, and that's what's going to really change our trajectory into the future. That's what excites me.
Great. So I want to make sure this is an interactive evening for the rest of you. So I would like to open this up to questions from you, our lovely audience. So I'm going to repeat the question. So the question is, how are you finding these partnerships with physicians and lactation specialists to get Motherlove into their good view, particularly as you're seeking a similar understanding for your business?
For us, we primarily go to their conferences. We're an exhibitor or a sponsor of a lot of conferences, specifically around lactation and midwives. There are quite a few conferences there. Making inroads with the healthcare community has been a long road, to be honest with you. When you talk about herbs and natural, they say, yeah, where's your evidence? History. So FDA testing is a big thing for a lot of people, and clinical trials, and it's been our opinion that clinical studies haven't necessarily given us the safest products out there. So we really try to have a real conversation with people and show them our research and how we formulate and what herbs we use, and things that are historically known to be safe and effective, and have a conversation about that. And people slowly but surely start using the products and seeing that they're effective. And word of mouth has become a huge ally of ours. But it started slowly. I mean, I didn't jump into going to conferences and have people respond super positively, because herbs can be, snake oil. So it's been a long road, but keeping that conversation going and continuing to show that what you're doing is effective really has changed the hearts and minds of many people.
Work in your business plan.
So the question is, are all of you considering your capacity to have influence at a policy level through advocacy at the breastfeeding level for sunscreen, skin cancer, and overall wellness in women through what you're doing in terms of activating at a policy engagement level? Are any of you thinking about doing more of that?
I'm definitely focused on that because I saw how much opportunity there was. No one stepped up with scientific research except for one scientist behind these senators who proposed the bill. So we actually had an MBA student a few years ago do the research for us on coral reef, and that about, I think, 4 years ago. And so we just submitted all the research that he had done. But there's so much opportunity, and I think it's more on a social media gets me excited about changing public policy, because at the end of the day, enough people have to care about an issue for the senators to care. And so the fact that one senator stopped that bill, they're gonna propose the same bill in Hawaii next year, in California as well as Florida, and I think there's another state, I can't remember which one. So I plan on doing as much as possible, but I think that social media is a huge opportunity, because if you share stories with your fans, that's how people learn about these issues. So it's important that way too.
Yeah, I mean, we would like to do more of it. I think that one of the things that is not really clear is that the beauty industry is not regulated, and it's perceived to be regulated. And so that's why we have a lot of these nasty ingredients in our personal care products. And so if we can start to limit some of those ingredients, I think that that's a really important change that we could make. And those come from policy decisions as well. So I think that if we can approach things from that way and not only provide great products, but actually try and limit some of the choices that are in some of our other personal care products, I think that it's a double whammy, and it's a win-win.
We've been big supporters of Baby Friendly Hospital Initiative, which is hospitals across the United States turning to more inclusive ways of helping women initiate lactation. So it's rooming in, it's having a lactation consultant on staff. What was once only 25 hospitals is now hundreds of hospitals, so Motherlove's been a big proponent of that. We're also definitely in support of benefit corporations. Our COO just recently testified for both the House of Representatives and the Senate in Colorado to change corporate law in the state of Colorado to actually have a different type of corporation, not just a certification of B Corp, but truly changing the bylaws of what a corporation is to a benefit corporation. So when companies sell and change hands, that those ethics are part of the deal.
Great. And what about you, Joshua? Are you doing any engagement on a policy level?
It's the same thing unless you have a medical claim like SPF. For those of you who don't know, the cosmetic industry is completely unregulated. So a lot of it over the past 17 years has just been educating people. Educating people to read the labels, but also there's a lot of alternative facts online. There's a lot of, I love Skin Deep, for example, but it's a nonprofit. And fortunately, they don't take corporate dollars. So there's a lot of alternative facts on ingredients, like peppermint oil for a long time was considered hazardous because they had it from a consumable level instead of a topical level. So a lot of it comes down to really doing your own research, not just from one source, but from many sources. And I always say that nature is the longest clinical trial that we've ever seen. And we need to start realizing that plants are powerful when they're used properly. And these women are stewards for that knowledge and putting it into their products and carrying that out to you. And you have to find brands that you trust and really support them.
Agreed.
Like these brands.
I thank you for that. And I think if we think of ourselves as the importance of being ambassadors in our life to our friends and family, and really being advocates for that which has high benefit for your personal well-being, but always considering well beyond our own personal sphere to that of the world around us. And I think there's never been a more significant opportunity than now to be that kind of person, to be absolutely unflinching in speaking truth and calling out the alternative facts that actually don't hold up to the test of time and reality. And nature, I'm always amazed. I'm like, well, it's just common sense. And I'm very much an advocate for the obvious. And it's such an interesting time to be living in where the unobvious is gaining so much clout when what is just native to your own deep sense of truth, if you check in, and goodness knows we're all wired to have that, which is good news, people shift in a very quick moment if you just help them connect a few natural dots that are right there and so accessible. So I just encourage to never underestimate the value of your own advocacy to the people you care about and to total strangers. I mean, I'm a person, you see me at the grocery store, and I'll be standing at something, and a person will walk up, and I can't shut my mouth. I'll like, oh, I see you grabbing that. Have you considered this over here? And they're like, do you work for that company? No. But that, I actually have not, I've never had someone be, unfriendly to those kinds of encounters. It's authentic. It's just an organic moment, and it just arises, and I can't help myself. But I think it's a good thing for all of us to consider that that's a gift you have to give in any given moment. And not only is your own personal choice impactful, but how you're influencing those around you is a huge uncharted, maybe for some of you, you don't do what I just shared, but it's an uncharted territory moment to be an advocate and to be a proud and glowing example through your own healthiness that this other way is worth the time, the money, the investment, and you're supporting people like this who are clearly devoted to doing it right, which is really refreshing. Are there other questions? Yes, ma'am.
Can you just expand on that, on some of the sources that you rely on?
So can you expand on the sources that you rely on for ingredients and research?
Well, Skin Deep's
So are
a
you
great place
referring
to
to
start, don't
safety
you
or
think?
efficacy, I guess?
I mean, Skin Deep's a good place to start. You can put on an app on your phone and you can scan your products. Like you can go through your medicine cabinet and see what the ratings are. But I'm with Joshua. There's been certain ingredients that haven't been researched since like the 1940s, and you dig into the research and you're like, yeah, that wasn't an issue.
Yeah.
That's
Like
not
vitamin
really.
E was one for a long time.
What's
Vitamin E was getting a 4.
Right.
And I'm like,
It's a little
That's just the
confusing.
best.
yeah. So you gotta, triangulate like a pigeon. You gotta look at like 3 different views to create your own picture, and then then test it on your arm.
What about the FDA, Joshua, though?
What about them?
Well,
They don't regulate.
it.
They don't. You know what? They do a horrible job on drugs. So I really don't want them regulating my industry. I think that consumers are going to start regulating the industry. I mean, I don't know what the actual numbers are, but when I started Pangea in 2000, one of the people who didn't end up investing in Pangea told me that the industry was less than $1 billion, and that was 17 years
Not
ago. And
today.
now it's 33 billion, and that's coming from you guys. That's not coming from FDA regulations. That's coming from a critical mass of people are sick of getting fed the bullshit, sick of the ads, sick of the empty promises, sick of getting sick, sick of cancer, sick of poisoning the environment. And we hit this point and we're just sick of it all. And we're like, oh, there's alternatives. There's pioneers in the industry going out there and offering something that is not only better for you and the planet, but shit works.
Well, and we're a consumer-driven society, and you're voting with your dollar, and that's the reality. We have to accept the fact that that's who we are, and so this is a component of that.
And there are some great natural grocery stores with really educated people who work in them, so they are often very helpful that I could recommend.
And I would say that, one of the things I love about Amazon is the insane amounts of reviews on products. If you're really questioning the efficacy side of something and you have like 4 or 5 days to kill, like just go online, and take some CBD oil and just start reading reviews, because there's hundreds of consumers that'll tell you exactly what they think, and they're entertaining.
And they're real.
They're real.
They're real reviews.
So what was just said is like the FTC has not really been able to change the fact that people are speaking their truth on Amazon. So back to the 4 to 5 days that you might have to start reading reviews, there are a lot of people just speaking from their own experience of something. And if you wade through it, you will probably find a certain consistency of viewpoint, which might be a good signal that that many people having a particular experience might be worth paying attention to. Are there other questions? Yes, we'll go here and there. Yes, ma'am. So the question is, as a company that's 5 years old, that's still doing its own manufacturing, and it's not a common decision for a lot of companies. And so her question is, you guys are still doing that. Why have you continued to maintain your own manufacturing?
So for us, we started making the products in my kitchen growing up, and have always been really consistent on our quality. Quality's super important to us. So going into production and being able to see the herbs and smell the herbs and see monitor how it's made every day is something that's important to us. We've taken a blended approach. We have a contract manufacturer that helps us make our herbal supplements because of FDA regulation. There's a lot more regulation around supplement use. So we do have somebody help us with that. And then all of our cosmetics we continue to manufacture because of our passion for it. I mean, it started loving making the products, and we still love making the products. So that's why we've stayed with it. We've had to change our approach. We used to pour everything with a measuring cup on jars lined up around a table. Don't do that forever. We've had to change the way that we do it in order to keep up with it. But for us, is really just the passion for being with the plants. So we've kept it.
Did either of you have any other thing to add? No. Okay, I saw another. Kat, you had a question. So the question was around, given that the FDA is very particular about how you make claims, and yet many of us have insight into actual efficacy of what we're using, but we have to be so careful on how we say what we say. How do you navigate that? I mean, do you have to send your labels into somebody to look at them? How does that work?
Yeah, we have an FDA consultant look at our labels to approve that what we're saying, but you're right, we can barely say anything on the label of what it does. We carefully choose our language. We use the word supports lactation rather than increases breast milk supply. So you're not making a claim, you're implying that it does help support something. But it's tough. I mean, you can't say the word heals, and we use calendula, which heals everything. But you can't say that on your labels. And what's challenging is because we do follow FTC and FDA labeling guidelines and don't make those claims on our labels, but a lot of the industry does make claims on their labels. You'll see healing cream as the title of many products on the market. We can't really say that, but because there's no regulation around it, we're kind of stuck in the middle. Like, I wish there was less regulation because these herbs truly do these things. But as long as there's going to be a regulation, they should probably enforce it because there's a competitive disadvantage by we're complying with labeling laws and others aren't. So it's a challenge for us. How we get around it is careful wording. Implications with our biggest selling supplement is called More Milk Plus. So we are implying what it does without making a claim of what it does. So some creative names for your products is what I'd recommend. But it's a challenge. It's one of our biggest challenges, telling the consumer what does this product do without telling the consumer what this product does.
Exactly. So the question was, what is the...
I love this one.
All right, so the question is, what is the impact of non-GMO having on the other types of certifications that are being chosen by each of your companies?
Well, for us, this has been a passion of mine because when everyone started the Just Label It thing, I was like, hey, there is a label. It's called Certified Organic. And anything in a certified organic product couldn't have come from a GMO seed. It was also not sprayed with pesticides and herbicides. So because it says non-GMO certified crackers, they could have sprayed pesticides and herbicides the whole lifespan of those ingredients. So I'm really passionate about that particular issue because I think some retailers are requiring, if we say non-GMO, that we need to go get the the non-GMO certification. We actually got kicked out of 4 stores in San Diego trying to argue this point. We're like, hey, no, certified organic is non-GMO, and we really don't need another certification because they're a pain in the butt.
Yeah, I mean, USDA certified organic is the gold standard, so if you can comply with that, I mean, you are required to have 95% organic ingredients in your products, and so therefore the non-GMO component falls under that category.
I think that it's a challenge educating the consumer about that. A lot of people hear organic and think expensive. They hear organic and think elitist, and they hear non-GMO and they're like, oh, that's pretty good, not realizing that organic is, yes, non-GMO, as well as no herbicides or pesticides. I mean, you just can't do better than certified organic. But when there's this perception around non-GMO, GMO is a hot word now, and people think non-GMO matters more than organic. So it's really about educating consumers. But it's a challenge when people don't realize that the certification does include non-GMO.
That's very true. I am so grateful to each of you for your time and for the dedication that you each bring to what you're doing in this world, all 4 of you. I just have great love and appreciation and respect. So thank you for
Thank you.
the just sincerity and the authenticity. It's so refreshing and beautiful, and I'm really honored that you were here with us this evening at the Epicenter. Women Leading Green, beauty is earth deep. So let's give them a warm welcome. Thank you.